What's up, YouTube? This video is going to be about ranking and promotions, inspired by a mat chat that I had earlier today, asking me what my considerations were. There are two areas that I have in my considerations. The first one is in characteristics, and the second one is on track. I think track is a really important one, an interesting one too, but I'll save that towards the end of the video. As I was explaining track, I looked at my documentation that I put on my community portal, and it's not in there. So right after this video, I'm going to put it in and improve my documentation. All right, characteristics. There are three. First one is on time. The second one is on behavior. The third one is on skill. Time. Obvious, right? Like, you got to show up for class, got to be consistent. 2 times per week would be my prescription to make every opportunity to rank. But, you know, we've got life. We've got work, family, school, other interests, vacation, things that pull you left and right and all over the place. It happens, which is part of our story as a martial artist. And like that, the balance of all of that is congruent to some of the philosophies that we have on the mat. But on time's sake, definitely have to be consistent. I mean, it's more of an administrative characteristic. You know, saying that you show up once every 3 months isn't consistent enough. Once every 6 months, even if you're still paying tuition, it doesn't count as time and rank. Right? Time and rank would be based more on consistency rather than just time in general. So time, pretty obvious. Second one, behavior. You know, how you train actually matters. Like, are you respectful to your coaches and your training partners? I mean, we've got high-level athletes who are complete jerks, right? Like, I guess I get it from an entertainment perspective, right? You want to see a character compete, and we have their biases against them. We either want to see them win or we want to see them lose. Yeah, I kind of get that, but for me as a traditional martial artist, I think respect and discipline, honor, all those tenets that we expect a black belt to have, it should actually appear when you train. Are you training safely? Are you a mat bully? You know, that kind of stuff. Because if you're a mat bully, it doesn't matter how good you are, but if you don't have that portion where I think martial arts has its value as a citizen of society, you know, I'll hold you back, to be quite honest. So, but if I see that you're working on that, because, you know, we all come from different walks of life, and if that is an interest to improve, you know, behavior and stuff like that, for sure, we'll do that. And that's what I'm open to being your coach for. All right, the third one, which would be on skill, which also bridges into the track. All right, skill. Let me put this iPad down for a second. All right, skill. Earlier when I had mentioned the characteristics, I hope you noticed that I didn't actually say curriculum, because quoting from a mentor of mine, he would say that you cannot standardize a person's development. You can try, but you can't. Right now I'm in the parallel of like why I'm not using curriculum and how it ties into skill. Although there is things like a basic stance that that is a characteristic of, like, you know, Muay Thai. You have the Muay Thai thing, and you're not doing like a Taekwondo stance or a karate stance, stuff like that. If a person comes in that can't do, let's say, a single push-up, and then all of a sudden I help them accomplish 50, that is a significant growth, right? And I would categorize that in skill, although I'm using a poor example of strength, using strength, but the ability to have mind-body coordination, that kind of stuff. If an athlete comes in that had been an athlete ever since they were 3 years old, and I meet them somewhere around 25 and they can do 100 push-ups, like if they get 101, is that part of their skill set that they have to improve? It could be some other area, right? So there's those things that balance into each other that helps me determine if someone is eligible to test, or to rank up rather. Like white to the first rank that you achieve, like let's say yellow belt, or your first stripe in jiu-jitsu, it varies so much. And with the amount of times that I've played around with curriculum, I've added, I subtracted, I've tested it, and it works for this type of person, but this one only works for that type of person. And that is ongoing forever. So from a curriculum perspective, I threw that out and I just looked at it from a skill point of view and how I have the relationship with the athlete in what we're currently working on. Totally different for everyone on the mat. So having a relationship with your coach at that level helps make you feel like you've made your unique progress. All right, so now those are the 3 characteristics. Let's bridge into track. There are 3 tracks. We've got the regular student, and then we have the coaches, assistant coaches as well, and you have the competitor. Is a blue belt in jiu-jitsu standardized across all 3? I would say no. A blue belt as a regular student, a blue belt as a coach, and a blue belt as a competitor are completely different capabilities altogether. There is a talk in the jiu-jitsu community right now. I've caught wind where they're trying to create some other color designation because, insecurities on feeling the skill gap because we're thinking that there's a standard around a color of a belt or some stripe. I understand that argument, but it just makes it too complex. And I figured just understanding the tracks will be much better. So if you can identify yourself as a regular student, someone who wants fitness, self-discipline, get into shape, do something fun, because recreation is really important. We all love the sport, right? Well, when I talk to a coach of mine, like someone who's assisting me in class, I do tell them right away that they are held to a different standard. Not at the competitor level, but not at the regular student level. There's something different about being a rank and being a coach at the same time, because knowledge transfer is a skill set all in itself, right? Like will determine the mastery of its details depending on where you're at in your journey. So I do tell them up front, it might take them a little bit longer than the standard that some other people perceive, and that would be some future talk when they're wondering why they got passed up for rank. So yeah, there has to be a totally different skill set there. Competitors, totally different animal. A blue belt in jiu-jitsu can have skill sets that's so high they can take on a recreational black belt, and I've seen that. I've actually felt it when I got my black belt for the first time and decided to go from a self-defense world into the actual sport world. Right? It took me like 5 years as a black belt self-defense person to redo the whole thing to become versed at some degree at the competition level, because they're 2 different areas of martial arts. So I definitely had felt what a professional level blue belt competitor athlete feels like. It is very different. So at the time when I was having the experience, I was having those questions of life, right? But after 30 years of martial arts, I've come to the conclusion that there are different people and there are different missions in our lives, and to determine which track that you're on will help you know what your growth is going to be like as a martial artist. So in a nutshell, we have those 2 areas. You have the characteristics, which are time, behavior, and skill. And then you choose whether you're going to be a regular student, a coach, or a competitor. If you have any questions about that, we're already here at 9 minutes. Just let me know. Let's talk about it in the comments. Thanks for watching.